You're listening to the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45. This episode, we got Jim on the web, I guess. I would say phone, like, calling like I was still at the radio, but I'm no longer at the radio, Jim. How are things, man? How are things?
I mean, it's not as nice and warm as in Florida, but we're surviving up here.
Yeah, you got a T-shirt on, so, I mean, you're doing better than I am because, you know, usually you don't get to do that in April in Mass.
It's almost May.
That it is. It's been May before, though, in Chile, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, how things been? I haven't, get to catch up with you as much this year, on the race course, on a racetrack, being down this side of Florida. Hopefully next year will be a little bit different. But how's racing been for you, so far this season? Well, since last year, because you haven't been on the show for a little bit.
Well, it's been uneventful this year for me. I was racing every 2 to 3 weekends year round for 4 years straight since COVID.
Right.
And so right now I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I just actually started prepping my bike for the race season.
Okay.
So it's a little relaxing to not be stressed out, and I've got a week to go take care of this and fix this.
So now I think I'm going through a similar situation. I mean, I'm on the racetrack a little bit more than you are, but does it feel weird? Did it feel weird at first? Does it feel strange? Because for me, it does. I had to scratch off a couple of rounds today, and I probably realized it like several weeks ago, and I just had to accept it today.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I am nervous when I throw my leathers on. That one, my leathers are gonna fit, and two, when I go to throw a leg over my bike, that I'm not gonna be gassed by lap 2.
Yeah.
Because we were riding so frequently and so often that we were in really, really conditioned shape to do all this riding, and now I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. So by you saying that, when are you going racing this year?
So I'm hoping to go to Road America. That's been one of my more favorite tracks recently since going there.
Mm-hmm.
And their Cycle Fest is their 3-day event on Memorial Weekend. So if all goes well, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to do the track day and do the 2 days of the twin sprints. Hopefully things go smooth. I've had catastrophic failures every time I've gone there.
Okay.
So fingers crossed.
On the bike, not the body.
And then, yeah, I've had, mechanical, I've had motor and stator issues and sourcing parts. And if all goes well, I was going to stay down that area for about a week and then check out the Small Bore event, which is held at Barbara Motorsports Park the following weekend.
Okay.
That is also a 3-day event. It's nothing but minis.
Gotcha.
So they've got like hill climbs, they've got sprints, they've got road racing. So I'm going to do some laps on the Grom once again.
Gotcha. So you have about a month before you hit the racetrack for the first time since
Daytona, October.
How's training been so far?
I mean, my couch is very comfortable. Like I said, we'll find out. I don't even know if the suit's going to fit.
Right. So in 10 days, you're either going to be a pretzel or be very happy with the training on the couch you've been doing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't
sure,
know if my butt can handle these long road trips anymore.
It's interesting, and you've been doing this longer than I have. The road trip part of it, this year has been a struggle to drive more than 12 hours. I don't, and a couple of the tracks I wanted to go to, which was up that way. I was hoping to go to Loudon in May and June. and I had to scratch those because I like that's 60 hours of driving, going and coming, and that's me going.
Yeah.
Would be me leaving my truck and trailer in Boston after the first round, after the second round, and then flying back, and then flying up, and then driving back, not coming and going. So I had to scratch that.
Right.
So, yeah, I feel
Right.
you on the long driving. This year, I'm not that as excited as in the past. As you know, yeah, we were all over the place.
Yeah, and what's been good for me is because I've been doing it so long, and as you know, when you go to all these different tracks, and you end up, um, making new friends, all these different tracks and regions. So, what I've been able to do is essentially visit some of my track friends along my travels. I'll
Right.
drive a couple hours at night, stop and visit them for a night, and then carry on and continue the driving. So I'm not doing these 12, like Road America, I think is 24 hours from Boston when you pull in with a trailer.
Right.
So I'm not doing, one long drive. I'm taking almost a week to get there.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you there. And that's awesome when you do have that community that you can lean on like that. And that in my case, it's for you, it's a week. For me, it's 2 days because again, it's 24 hours to get to a lot of places when you're up that way.
Right.
And I
And then
would
you get to the track and you're exhausted.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, and I think for you and I, we're fortunate because we get to work remotely, and so for us, it's not as bad. I mean, if I had to take the time off, and not to say I don't take time off, but if I wasn't able to work remotely, I wouldn't have been able to do the amount of racing I did the last few years.
Yeah. So in 2014, when I was chasing the ASA championship, um, I was obviously working in Boston and I was using vacation time. So it was like that. I was doing, like Black Hawk was about 17 hours,
Yeah.
and I would basically do 2 days to get there and turn around and do a backpack worth of laundry and then get back on the road and go somewhere else. It was tough. It was a job and it was exhausting. And it just, by the, mid season, you don't even want to do it anymore.
Right, right. So yeah, so working remotely definitely makes it easier, but it's definitely this year as a toll as far as doing those long drives, especially to tracks that I've already gone to. I think new tracks. I'm okay with doing a drive because I want to go to that new track, but Loudon is my home track, and I've done a lot of laps at Loudon and stuff like that. So it's not to say it was easy to uncheck it. But it was, looking at the time and looking at everything, it just like, it didn't seem like I would be sitting here happy on Sunday night or Monday when I got to drive back.
Yeah. What's funny is I want to check with you in about 2 years and ask what you consider your home track to be,
Yeah.
because even though I live an hour and a half from Loudon or less,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't consider that my home track anymore.
Okay. So
I still go, like I'm going to go this weekend and watch and cheer my friends and and hang out with them, but I've probably done more laps at a couple other tracks.
yeah. See, I feel for you. Up to now, and even though I'm going to be in Boston those weekend, like I can't go. It's hard for me. I haven't been to a racetrack and not race. So, I mean, maybe I've gone with the intentions to race and haven't raced, but not like just show up on the side. And that's very hard, for me at the moment to just be like, all right, I'm just going to be a spectator. And granted, I go watch MotoGP, Moto America, and all this other stuff. But that was the challenging part. It's just kind of like, it's hard to go and just show up. But yeah, so I guess. So what do you consider your home track now? Since that, and I don't know how long it took you to realize that it's not your home track, but what is your home track now?
I would say
Wherever you lay your
about
helmet.
2014, 2015. I used to say VIR,
Okay.
because that's so my list is at 19 or 20 tracks that I've ridden at now.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm getting up there.
And VIR has been my favorite ever since. Actually, my bike that I still have, I bought it from somebody in the South, and part of the negotiation was meet me at VIR. So I drove down there, exchanged paperwork, gave him the cash, and then did a 2-day track day on this brand new bike. Um, I would probably say Summit as well because we would have 3 events a year there.
Yeah.
In VIR, they've basically pulled the schedule about 2 years ago, but they just announced, and you know, because we talked about this, that Azure CCS is going to VIR in August. So
I know. I saw
I'm
that.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to get myself there. If I have to, you know,
You're
go sell
going.
feed picks or something to
Right.
get some funds to
Yeah,
get me
yeah,
there.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to.
I saw that, and again, it's yeah. For me this year, the way I'm picking tracks is new tracks is a definite. So if it's a new track, that's staying on the list. Repeat offenders,
Yep.
I'll take off for right now, and hopefully next year will be a little bit different. So VIR, huh? That's your favorite track?
It's been my favorite. And for the longest time, everyone said, well, VIR is awesome, but wait till you get to Barber. And I went, and Barber is beautiful. It's got very good facilities. The museum is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but the track itself just did not wow me as much as some of the other tracks that I've been to,
Gotcha.
like VIR. And I'm still a big fan of Summit, especially since the repave.
Mm-hmm.
Where Barber is more of a cool factor, where they've got all the facilities, and it's like a Disneyland with the artwork and stuff at the whole
Right.
facilities. But the track itself, just it's like a 2 gear track. You're second and third gear on a 600, pretty much most of the track.
Okay. I'll
So,
find out in
but
August. I'm hoping to be. I'll be in Barber in August. It'll be a first time
okay,
for me, so we can talk about it afterwards.
okay.
Now, how does VIR compare to like Pitt? Uh,
I need to do more laps at Pitt.
okay.
I went right when it was the new racing facility and Wera just added to their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather wasn't ideal, so I don't have a fair assessment, but I want to say it's probably number 5 on my list.
Okay. It's not,
It's up there,
yeah,
and I like it.
yeah. I've only been
But
once.
yeah, and I remember when I went, they only had one shower. They only had maybe 10 power outlets for RV hookups, and you had to reserve them online. And they were saying, this is a work in progress. We're going to expand. We're going to have more power. We're going to have more facilities. So it was a really rebuilt facility that was still a work in progress when I went.
Right.
Where VIR has been there forever, and it's they blow dry and sweep the track every morning.
Nice. Yeah. At the moment, Pitt is my favorite track. I've only been there once. But we'll see. We'll see in August if I get to VIR this year. But it's tempting. There's a lot of racing going on at the end of July and August, as you know. So once upon a time, and I hate to say it like that, we were like 3 weekends out of the month where we were gone, right? And so now it's a little different.
It's
But
nice
hope
to relax. Yeah.
not really, but there's other things that's going on in life. So it's okay. And like for me, I hope it's only this year until I can I'll probably get at least 10 rounds a year in. But we, I mean you've been doing closer to 20 rounds a year for 4 years, give or take. And that's all that's like when you cut down to like 10, it's a lot for a lot of people. But when you do that
Right.
many, it feels strange.
It was 14 to 16 for me,
Okay.
and I was averaging between 60 to 70 races a year.
Wow. Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of maintenance.
Yeah. Speaking of, how's maintenance? Being off the bike since October and not going out for another month. Do you change your maintenance pattern on the off season, or is the bike pretty much all covered up and just ready to go?
Well, I changed motors over the weekend. Troy actually came and gave me a hand. So, not Troy, Josh,
Okay.
because he's nearby, and I basically needed somebody on the other side of the frame to kind of guide me up while I was, using the jack. So,
Right. Yep.
um, so I pulled the motor, and once the the motor that I'm using got bolted up, I suddenly became motivated, and now every night I want to, okay, let's do the exhaust tonight. Let's do let's do the radiator. Let's do the sprockets, and I did the forks last night. Clean the calipers and all that. Tonight I'm going to do rotors and new brake lines and fluids.
Right. Now,
So
I hear, rattle off a list of things like maybe pick a few of those things and kind of explain what it means when you say you do them. Is it, from beginning to end? Is it, you're sending stuff out and somebody sends it back and you're bolting on, bolting off? Do you, and also just talk about your process, because your process is, you keep more notes than I do. So your process is better than mine. Just that alone.
So basically, my bike is almost essentially a new bike every year. It's a brand new 15-year-old bike because
Okay.
Suzuki hasn't changed anything. So every winter, I strip the bike down to a frame, and I don't do a motor swap every year. I usually do one maybe every other year. But last year, for example, I did 3 motor swaps as well as frame swap.
Okay.
So I disassemble in the off season completely down, and this is my opportunity to inspect and clean and re-grease, lubricate, or replace anything that may be worn or broken. Because essentially, to keep the same level of performance on the bike, you have to constantly be maintaining it. So, for example, one thing that I always do that a lot of other racers neglect is like the chassis bearings. So the linkage, the steering heads, the wheel bearings, the swing arm bearings, all that stuff. The grease wears out and it gets dirty. So I will clean it out and replace the grease.
Okay.
As a lot of people are aware, suspension, Olin's, for example, they want their oil changed every 10 hours of use, which if you do the math, that's about 3, 4 races a weekend for 7, maybe 8 race weekends plus practice.
So in other words, I should be
So
changing the oil in my forks every 10 hours?
mid-season, every 10 hours.
Wow.
That's Olin's recommendation. And we've got some pro level racers that I know of that change their fork oil every weekend or after each day, because in their mind is, if I want the forks and the suspension to perform. So, but to answer your question, the suspension, I personally will not touch it. I don't feel confident in myself doing it, so I will unbolt the equipment and hand it off to the pros to say, you know this stuff more than I do. Work your magic, and when it's done, I'll bolt it back on my bike.
Right.
Same thing with the motor internals.
Okay.
I will take the motor out of the frame and I'll put it on someone's bench and say, refresh it, inspect it, do whatever you need to do to make sure that this motor is healthy and safe and predictable for me to ride on.
Gotcha. But everything else you do yourself.
Anything else that I'll dig my hands into. I mean, exactly. I'm disassembling the bike down to a frame and putting it back up.
And when you disassemble, are you taking notes along the way? Are you putting tapes on cables and all that fun stuff? Or, obviously by now you probably just know your bike inside out, but maybe initially when you were sorting it out and stuff like that, you probably did it then.
Yeah, so I changed my methods quite frequently and often. I'll try, hey, so time I'm going to take pictures before I take each, electrical connector apart. What I was doing for a very long time is I would use painter's tape and not just write, this is the fuel pump, this is the injector, this is, and that's been working.
So now that you have a month to put the bike back together, oh yeah, let's talk about your notes. Sorry, let's talk about where you're at with what you're doing today, because like when you said your processor keeps evolving, and to kind of explain why your process is evolving as well.
So the first time I would basically pull a motor or pull the electronics, I would take photos, and it worked. But then, especially on the Suzukis, there's 3 specific connectors that are all the same pin codes. They're all the same colors, and they're all around the same areas. So photo didn't really help.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time I said, all right, well, now I'm going to use painter's tape, and I'm going to write with a Sharpie what each item was, whether it's, upper injector 1 or the fuel pump or the throttle bodies, crank sensor, whatever. and that was really good. The problem is if you leave the tape on there, the tape ends up falling off or it gets smudged with the heat and whatnot. So my latest trick has been to buy a pack of colored zip ties,
Oh,
and it
okay.
would
Yeah.
do the whole spectrum of colors.
Yep.
So now I would label, like, for example, all of my fuel injectors, because the cables, not for cylinders 1 and 4, but for 2 and 3, they're very close in length and it's very easy to mix them up. And that could really mess up your day one at the track, because
Right.
now you're fumbling. What did I do wrong? Is it my, Bazaz? Is it my ECU or what? So, like, I will do red for cylinder 1, orange for cylinder 2, yellow, green, throughout the rainbow. And I would do it on each end of the connector. That way it's kind of brainless to say, or when you're doing the swap and you've got 90% of the connectors and you're looking for one, it's very easy. Oh, now I'm looking for, one with a blue zip tie on
Right.
the end.
Yep.
So, especially because the Suzuki's, for example, there's three pin connectors that are white with the same colors, and they all go around the same areas. There's a throttle body sensor, there's a fuel pump, and there's another one that I think it's the clutch sensor. They're all around the same area. It's very easy to mix them up. The goal is to get no codes.
And how closely do you follow the manual when it comes to when you're putting the bike back together? With torque settings and all that stuff. Like, I mean, is it just are you just know it by heart now?
I mean, I do have it memorized pretty much, but with critical things like the motor or what else? The motor and maybe like the shock or something like that, I'll just double check the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
The motor I 100% follow. Even though I've got it memorized, I'll still have the book open and just remember, okay, these, this side that has the pinch bolts, these ones go in, and then the castle nuts and all that. Just because that's something you really don't want to mess up with the torque specs.
Mm-hmm.
For me, with my bikes, and I know this is kind of a big discussion because there's some for and against it. I've never torqued my wheels. I've never torqued my calipers. I've never torqued my wheels. I've never torqued the pinch bolts, the brake pads, any of that stuff. For one, it's all safety wired. And for two, that stuff is constantly going on and off. So it's not something that I would have to worry about if it's under torqued and it's going to loosen up.
Right.
Because it's, you might do, you'll do 5 wheel changes in a day sometimes. So, especially if it's safety wired.
Got you.
Um,
Go ahead.
well, one thing that I've noticed on these Suzukis, and it doesn't matter, I've replaced the nut, I've replaced the engines, the front sprocket nut. It's 83 foot-pounds of torque, which is a lot, and it still comes loose. It is crazy. I've used red Loctite. I've done every trick you can think of, changed the lock nuts, and unfortunately the Suzukis require a case cover that goes over the front sprocket, so it's not something you can visually check to see if it's getting loose.
Right.
So now I drilled that nut and I safety wire it, just because that's something that's bitten me a couple times where it spun free and it kind of ground up inside the case cover.
Now, a lot of you take your bike all the way down to the frame and check everything and do all these things. Is that something that, when you first decided to go racing, and for folks that want to hear about that, they can watch the first episode with you on it and hear all about that. It took me a while to start wrenching on my bike. I probably
know.
Yeah, you know.
You almost went home in Daytona.
Yeah.
The first time I pitted next to you because the shop you had to do the service, without saying their name, they put the chain on too short,
Right.
and you couldn't fit your rear tire warmer through the swing arm in the fender.
Correct.
And you're like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah, just done.
And I was like, give me 5 minutes. Go to the vendor, go get another link or another chain, and we're gonna get you one in practice too.
Right.
and you were just like, what is happening?
Exactly. I was ready, hit zero for operator and call and complain. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
this is what we're going to do.
talk about wrenching.
I don't know. I guess, I mean, I have an engineering background, so I'm very hands on and I want to learn and take care of it. The way I've explained to some of my other friends, because I have, obviously we have a lot of racing friends and track day friends that are a lot more, I don't want to say careless, but they're just not as aggressive with their maintenance and their wrenching, is especially at the racing level where track days you ride about 80% of your abilities, where racing you tend to do 90%. You're wheel and wheel, elbow to elbow with your colleagues that pit next to you. Our lives are at stake. If I'm careless with something and something's loose or whatnot, you know things could end badly. So I have a lot of trust in the person leaning next to me that they're maintaining their bikes just as well as I am. And I've personally encountered where someone didn't tighten one side of their caliber bolts, and we saw the photos on each lap from the photographer at Loudon. The bolts kept coming out and out and out until he went down into the bowl, hit the front brakes, and the caliper went flying off, and he just smashed into the rider in front of him.
Right, right. No,
And it broke his ankle. I mean, it wasn't anything serious, but that is something that someone could have easily prevented.
right. Or, a oil pan bolt, right? And then half the day shut down because you're cleaning up the track. There are definitely things that can be avoided that I've seen as well on the track. That I mean, I don't even know what you call that because I was paying people to wrench for me. I wasn't doing the work myself, but I was still getting the maintenance done. But that's something else. I don't know what that is when as you say, we're elbow to elbow with people, and you're not making sure that your bike is good. Whether that's different. It's one thing if whether you do the work or, like I say, if you pay someone to do it, and that's one thing. And even then, because in my case, as you just mentioned, I paid somebody to do something, and
People make mistakes,
and people make mistakes, but oil pan bolts and as caliper bolts and these things, that's carelessness, though. That's not a mistake. Over tighten something and it breaks or something like that is one thing, or shortening in my case or whatever the case may be. But I don't know what you call that, but that does make for a bad weekend, and especially if it takes someone else out.
right? Because when it all comes down to it, I mean, this is just a hobby for us. You're not going to make it to MotoGP. This is not going to be your career.
Is that a senior MotoGP league?
Not yet.
Right.
I look in the bleachers like in Jersey when I go to turn one, but I don't see those scouts out there. I don't see the Suzuki and Yamaha representatives out there watching us. But
Right.
this is just a hobby for all of us, and we all have jobs to go to in the morning, unless we're fortunate enough to have parents that are taking care of it. But
Right.
Safety is the most important thing when it comes out to this.
Right. Should be number one. Definitely.
Mhm.
So talking about the wrenching and just kind of close that up a little bit. For somebody who doesn't have an engineering background or a new rider, they should just get comfortable, start playing with their bike, or start doing a little bit here and there? What do you say to new riders that may not know what they're doing?
What I've always done, and what I would prefer, is do your research, whether it's on YouTube or whatever. Watch a bunch of videos, because everyone has different opinions and methods on how to do things, and formulate a plan. This is how I'm going to replace my brake lines. This is how they're doing it. This seems to be a general consensus with the other videos I've seen. And then reach out to somebody that's more experienced and say, listen, I want to do this. I don't feel confident in doing it on my own or unsupervised. Are you able to check my work or to watch my work? and just to ensure that I'm doing this properly because, I'm trying to learn. And more importantly, I want to be able to do this again. And in my case, I want to be able to help my fellow riders
Right.
because next year there might be a new rider that wants to do the same thing, and I can pass on that knowledge.
And you talked about paying it forward earlier. Um, is that something that you embrace through motorcycle racing and just kind of figure that it's just a natural progression to be like, hey, if I can help, I'll help. Because it seems like in the motorcycle community, we tend to generally help each other. It's weird when you first come in
Absolutely.
there, you don't realize it, but then you see it because you might be struggling with your bike and somebody you don't know come help you with a stand or whatever and stuff like that. And it seems like being in it now for a while, it just seems like and I'm standoffish as you know by now, I don't go up to people, I don't do any of that stuff. But after a while, you kind of I find myself doing it now, helping folks if I see them, regardless if they're new or not, if I see them needing help or whatever, doing that. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a hobby. We're all here to have fun. We're all here to play and be safe. So you're absolutely right. You see a red flag, and if you have extra waters, you're going down pit road to hand them out to riders, or you see a rider that has to come in because of a crash, you're running over to help them with the stand because you know what it's like. You know that you're tired, and if you don't have somebody with you, in your pit to help you, and you're out by yourself, it helps to have somebody coming over and do your stand. Or if you crash, there's always people that kind of come over to your pit and make sure you're okay, and then offer, do you need parts? Do you need tools? Like, what can we do to get you back on track? Because, you know, push comes to shove, we're competitive. We want to win, but we also want everyone to ride and have fun.
Right. So is it kind of like me then? Is something you found on track, or you were kind of already doing this, paying it forward in a sense?
Well, for me, I mean, when I got into it, there was somebody that helped me out, and when he raced, he actually had number 105, and that number is kind of as a tribute or thank you
Okay.
to getting me started to racing. And he has the same mentality that I've always had. And I mean, you know how many of these guys have come into my garage and asked for help or how to learn how to do something. Some of your
Right.
friends have come by, some other people that we know,
My friends are coming by more than
and
I
it was
am,
the same
Jim.
mentality with him. Yeah, I mean, it's an open garage, and he's got the skills and the knowledge. I mean, we're not here to just be free mechanics, but
Right.
if there's a rider that's in need and wants to learn, then I'm happy to teach you how to work on your bike.
Nice.
Because I want you to be safe, and I want to help the community out, and I want them to be able to do the same someday for, like you said, pass it along.
Right. Yeah, and that is the coolest part about this thing is, like I said, the motorcycle. Like before I'm late rider to getting on a bike and stuff like that. And so for me, even though I've been in it now a little over 12 years, it still feels new because I'm older than 12, right? So it's one of those things like it just changed my perspective. Even going down the highway now, if I see somebody on a bike and I'll stop and see if they're good or check to make sure they're good and stuff like that. Where in the past, and if you're broken down in a car, I just keep going. Not even stopping. So, it is a very cool community. It's crazy because I always say if the whole world was like motorcycle riders, it'd be a beautiful place. Because at the end of the day, like we compete against each other, and we have no problem helping each other to go compete against each other.
Absolutely. Like I said, I didn't know who you were. I mean, like I knew you were part of the, the New Hampshire group, but you were a competitor of mine. We were in some of the same races in Daytona,
Yeah.
and you were fed up and said, "I'm just going to pack up." Like, no, like I'm going off for practice right now. While I'm out, go to the trackside vendor and go get another chain. I've got a friend on this side that's got the cutting tools and the grinders and stuff. I've got the chain breaker tools. We're going to get you out in practice too.
Right. And
Obviously, I still want to beat you and be faster than you, but I want you to go out and enjoy. You know, you spent a lot of time and money to be there, and I want you to enjoy it just like I am.
Right. And that's the biggest part too. You talk about the time and the money, and it took me a little, it took, because, when you're caught up with something not working out, you just kind of, I don't block it out. But reiterating, the time and the money and the amount of, to get there and all this stuff and all that. And, when you put it in perspective, it's like, now it's like, I don't leave. But it is understanding that, even though your bike is not working when you first get there, all these other things happen, and so you should try to fight and push through. And the crazy part is, I don't know if I told you this, but even like I went to Homestead at the beginning of the year, raining like crazy. I only had one bike, and I had to switch rain tires, and I had to go over to the Pirelli guy on a red flag to ask him if he had could he switch the tire. He had to ask a couple of riders if it was cool, right? Who was in front of me. And, I was able to start that race from pit lane, not to make a short story long. But in the past, I would have just put my feet up and went to the trailer and cracked open some rum or something like that, and not fight. But you know what I mean? It like that. Those little things, not giving up. It changes your life. It makes you become a different person, because now in situations like where it's like, I don't know, it might have been like 10 minutes of I couldn't even get my gloves on because I was soaked. It literally, there's a video of me like 3 minutes just trying to get the glove on while, the riders are doing their warm-up lap, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. I get it.
You know what I mean? And then it's like I get out there, started from pit lane, and I got on the podium. You know what I mean? And in the past, I would have just gave up and stuff like that. So that whole thing actually kind of just changes your whole psyche, you know what I'm saying? And that happens through the riders being around you, encouraging you, giving you advice when you don't want to hear it. Because trust me, dude, there's many times that you were talking to me and I didn't want to hear
it. That story kind of reminds me of when I did a podcast with the with certified knee draggers up in New York.
Uh-huh.
And if you're not familiar with them, they're a group of track day riders. Some of them got into racing recently, and they asked me, and they said, you've been experienced racer for quite some time. Like, what does it take to be a champion? Because you've won championships over the years. I go, if it's cold or it's raining or you don't feel well or it's hot, you guys skip a session. No harm, no foul. I'm just going to catch the next one. But when you're being a racer and you're competitive and you're chasing points and championships, you're going to do whatever it takes to get out there.
Right.
Your tires are shot and you got to, run in your gear to go get another one installed, or, bleed the brakes really quick. I mean, I had to change a clutch on this bike in Carolina after race 2, and I was back out in race 6.
Right.
I flew into the pit. I still had all my gear on. I went into my trailer, grabbed another clutch, swapped it out. I mean, my hands were burning from the hot clutch, but I was back out there for that next race.
Right. Yeah.
And it's stressful, but at the end of the weekend, you're like, you know what? I did everything I could, and I'm happy that I did what I did.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes you believe that anything is possible. You know what I mean? And you don't, it's that never quit attitude. You see it in basketball and football and some of these sports where, it's seconds on the clock and they're hitting 2 big shots to win kind of thing. And doing that and going through that. And as you say, when you're done and you put you lean back and you look at it, that's sweeter than, leading a race from start to finish. You know what I mean? Because you have to. There's adversities, all kind of things that you have to. All these things that has to line up to get out there. And the fact that, like I said, you're not 10 minutes left. You're not giving up. You're doing everything possible, and you
got that fight in you.
Exactly, and so that's something I didn't have that now is in me, and I think I had it in a different way, because I mean this is a hobby for us, so it wasn't like life or death in a situation where I was saying, okay, I don't want to go race, but at the same time it is a hobby, but you have to look at it in a way like it is life and death, because the difference is doing something amazing, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm just glad you finally, smartened up and got gearing. because you weren't changing a gearing at these
I,
different tracks, and you could see me you know every Friday night changing the sprockets, and I would change them between practice and realigning my wheel, and you're like, whatever, it's good enough.
yeah. No,
But
I was like, not like Pedro in the sense of racing, but in the sense that they're not changing the setup on his bike. He's just showing up at every track with the same
yeah,
setup, and that's it.
you
No,
know, it'll work out.
yeah, you know, it's crazy because yeah, that was one of the other things I had to come to grips with was understanding gearing, changing gearing, not just sitting here because I think sometimes in the back of your mind you think that you can make things happen because it's just you and you don't have to do anything. Like if certain sports like basketball or football comes to mind where your abilities will just overcome whatever's going on in that moment. But it was one of those things that it took a little while to register. Like no, you got to do this to make this happen. Even though bikes still getting to 100 miles an hour regardless, it's just a matter of when it does it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, but you're adapting. I'm proud of
I'm
you.
yeah, every day. That's it, kicking and screaming, but every day. So now are you talked about having the Suzuki it's a new bike every year. It's so I've changed race. I've probably had like 6 race bikes, and you've had like what?
I mean, technically no, because I've changed the frame. Like I've gone through like 3 or 4 different frames on
Right,
the
technically,
bike, and
like
I've
no.
I've done at least 10 motors.
Yep. At least. So now, is it just because you're a big fan of Suzuki? Like, do you plan on changing, going to another manufacturer? Because I guess you can just keep upgrading parts.
So a few years ago, I did have an interest in the Yamahas and the R6s, but I was hearing a lot of feedback from more veteran riders, and they said, your height and your body shape and build, it may not be comfortable for you because the riding position is essentially on top of the bike, where the Suzukis and the Kawasaki's are in the bike. So
Right.
if you were to switch, you'd be better off, or probably more comfortable with the Kawasaki. And the other issue I came across is I have enough spare parts to build another bike right now. In addition to, I've got all the special sockets. I've got everything that I possibly could need. My limiting factor with my slow lap times is not the bike.
Gotcha.
And where Suzuki has not changed the motor on the GSX-R 750s since 2006, they changed the head in 2008, but they're all still compatible. Why bother?
Right.
Why get a 2016 or 2017 GSX-R when it's the same motor as what I already have? They may have made them 10, 20 pounds lighter, but why start over?
Right. Okay. There you go. I was a little curious. I'll probably have a few more race bikes before I'm done. I can't lie.
I almost bought a GSX-R 1000. Because I bought the restraint kit for it,
Right.
and the seller ended up backing out. But I was going to try a bigger bike because I did have interest in it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. I think we went over time a little bit. You want to shout out your sponsors? Of course you do.
Well, I mean, anyone that sees any of my social media, it's they see it all the time. All the critical and popular brands that everybody likes to use, and Motul, and I've been a big Michelin rider. Formerly Galfer, the now G Brakes, if you follow them online, K&N, and Yoshimura. Who else is there? There's all the big brands out there that are helping us continue the sport that we love.
And if folks want to follow you, you want to give out your social media.
I am 105.racer.
And he's everywhere. Well, I want to thank you for coming. No, you're not everywhere?
Not anymore. I'm keeping a low profile.
just for 2024.
I get too many people messaging me about mechanic questions and bike questions. I'm trying to stay a low profile now.
I don't. Well, I mean, you're trying to pass it forward as well. So you're gonna have more people hitting you up on social media for sure. But I think it's cool what you're doing and talking to folks about what you've been doing for all these years, giving advice and helping out because you're there to race. And I've seen you give more time to even for me and other people than you do for yourself, and you do it with a smile, which is pretty impressive. So I definitely want to thank you for doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, I mean you'll get there too. You'll see. It's
I'll
to
be
the track all the time, so you're doing it too.
I'll be smiling all the time too.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right, man. I want to thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you.
All right, peace.
See ya.